Let me tell you a little secret about human nature that can change the way you communicate forever. Criticism never wins friends or influences people. I know. Sometimes we feel it's our duty to correct, to point out what's wrong. After all, doesn't it feel good to be right? But let me ask you, when was the last time you responded well to criticism? Did it make you feel motivated, inspired, or eager to change? Number. Most likely, it made you defensive, angry, or even resentful. And that's not just you, it's human nature. People, my friend, are driven by pride. Our egos are fragile, and when someone criticizes us, it feels like an attack on our very self-worth. And the moment we feel that sting, the instinct is to justify ourselves, to defend our actions, to prove we weren't wrong. But that's not the way to get people to see things your way. Criticism doesn't open minds, it shuts them. It doesn't encourage growth, it leads to resistance. Think about a time you were criticized. What happened? Did it inspire you to change your ways? Or did you dig your heels in, vowing to prove the critic wrong? Now imagine if that same person had come to you with an understanding, with empathy, and said, "I see where you're coming from, but here's a thought." Notice the difference? You'd be more open, more willing to listen. I once knew a manager, who understood this principle deeply. Instead of tearing his employees down when they made mistakes, he took a different approach. He would approach the situation with kindness, saying, "I know you've worked hard on this. Let's see how we can make it better together." That simple shift in language turned potential conflict into collaboration. His employees respected him more, and they were motivated to do better, not because they were afraid of being criticized, but because they felt appreciated. Here's a little trick you can use. Don't tell someone they're wrong. Ask them how they might improve. You see, when people come up with their own solutions, they own it. And when they own it, they're committed to change. Criticism can leave a scar, but understanding and encouragement leave a lasting impact that motivates people to be their best. If you truly want to connect with people, you must understand something incredibly important. We are all driven by a deep desire to feel important. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves seeking recognition, validation, or approval? Whether it's the praise from a boss, the compliment from a friend, or even the nod of approval from a stranger, it feels good to be acknowledged. And here's the thing, we are not alone in this need. Every person you meet shares this same fundamental desire. Imagine a situation where someone does something you admire. Maybe it's a colleague finishing a tough project, or a friend going out of their way to help you. What do? Do you criticize or point out what could have been better? No, you don't. Instead, you recognize their effort. You say, "That was impressive," or "I really appreciate how hard you worked on that." And what happens next? The person beams. They stand a little taller. Their smile stretches wider. Why? Because you've just fulfilled their need for significance. You've made them feel important. The key here is understanding that recognition is more powerful than you might think. It's a force that builds trust, strengthens bonds, and encourages people to keep doing their best. But, and this is vital, it must be sincere. People can tell when compliments are hollow. Flattery is easily spotted, and it doesn't have the same impact as genuine appreciation. You cannot fake admiration. It must be real, authentic, and specific. Take a moment to think about the people you admire. Who are they? Do they not feel important to you in some way? The leaders we admire, the people we look up to, all have one thing in common. They make us feel significant. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who made others feel important by valuing their perspectives, even in times of disagreement. He wasn't a man who belittled or dismissed people. Instead, he recognized their humanity, and that recognition turned into respect. So, when you walk into a room, instead of trying to prove your own worth, try to find something in others that you can genuinely appreciate. Maybe it's their effort, their kindness, their intelligence. And when you do, don't just think it, say it. You'll find that when you make others feel significant, they will in turn make you feel like the most important person in the room. You know, there's a simple but incredibly powerful way to win people over, and it doesn't involve forcing your opinions or trying to manipulate others. The secret? Let them feel that the idea is theirs. Now think about that for a second. How often have you been more committed to an idea when you feel like you've discovered it yourself? When you take ownership, it becomes personal, and when it becomes personal, it becomes important. Let me share an example. Have you ever been in a meeting or a discussion where someone suggests an idea, but instead of simply agreeing, you find a way to make it your own? It's the way we operate as humans. If we feel like we came up with something, we're much more likely to support it. The next time you want to change someone's mind, instead of simply telling them your way is the best way, why not try asking a question that leads them toward your conclusion? When they see the solution themselves, they're not just convinced, they're committed. Think about the power of asking good questions. They don't challenge the other person's intellect. Instead, they engage them in a way that encourages them to think, to come to a realization on their own. And when they do, the decision is theirs. The satisfaction of coming up with the solution themselves makes them more likely to follow through. It's a natural reaction. When something is ours, we're more invested in it. Now take a look at how we interact every day. When someone disagrees with us, what's our natural instinct? It's to defend our position, right? But when we gently guide them to see things from our point of view, without telling them they're wrong, we invite them into a discussion rather than a battle. Imagine how much easier it is to win someone over when you aren't forcing them to feel like they're losing. The moment we begin making someone feel like they're wrong, we start building walls between us. Instead, let them come to their own conclusion. Ask them questions, listen carefully, and respect their viewpoint. When they realize the truth for themselves, they won't resist. It'll become their truth. And that, my friend, is how you win people to your way of thinking, without ever appearing to push your agenda. When it comes to leadership, there's one essential truth you must understand. You can change people without arousing resentment or making them feel inferior. And how do you do that? It's simple, really, by starting with praise. Now, this isn't just about offering a few nice words. It's about being sincere, specific, and heartfelt. People crave recognition, and when you show them genuine appreciation, you set the stage for positive change. Imagine for a moment that you need to address someone's mistake. What's your first instinct? Most people would jump right in with criticism, pointing out what went wrong and what needs fixing. But here's the thing. People don't respond well to direct confrontation. They get defensive, they argue, and they dig in their heels. Now picture a different approach. Before you mention the mistake, you start by highlighting something they did well. I really admire how you handled that project. It was organized and thorough. When you begin with praise, you soften the ground. You're showing the person that you see their value, and this makes them more open to hearing what comes next. But don't stop there. Call attention to the mistake indirectly. Instead of saying, "You messed this up," try something like, "I've noticed a small detail here that might make a big difference." This gives the person a chance to correct themselves without feeling embarrassed or humiliated. You're not pointing fingers, but guiding them toward improvement in a way that maintains their dignity. Let's take this a step further. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. People love to hear that even the best make mistakes. It makes them feel less alone in their struggles. It builds rapport and shows that you're not some perfect authority figure looking down on them. Instead, you're someone who has been there, who has learned from your own errors, and who understands how to grow from them. This approach creates a connection, which opens the door for change. And here's the most powerful part. Give the person a reputation to live up to. When you believe in someone's potential and express that belief, It's like giving them a challenge they want to meet. You've shown great promise in the past, and I know you can do this even better. You're not just correcting a mistake, you're inspiring them to be their best self. When people feel trusted and valued, they rise to the occasion. Now, let's talk about a simple yet powerful principle that will elevate your ability to lead. Praise the slightest improvement, and praise every improvement. It's easy to overlook the small steps people take, but here's the secret. Those small steps, when recognized, build momentum. Every time you acknowledge progress, no matter how minor, you're giving the person the encouragement they need to continue moving forward. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how a little encouragement can change someone's attitude? It's like a spark that ignites a fire. Take a moment and recall a time when you were struggling, when things weren't going as well as you'd hoped. Then, someone came along, acknowledged your effort, and said, "You're making progress, keep it up." That small piece of praise might have been all you needed to push forward. Praise works in the same way for others. It motivates, it empowers, and it lifts spirits. Now, when you praise someone for even the smallest improvement, what you're really doing is building confidence. That's right. When people feel recognized for their efforts, their self-belief grows. The best part, the more you praise, the more they'll want to improve. It creates a cycle of success. People begin to associate their efforts with positive reinforcement, and over time, they will naturally strive to do better, knowing that their actions are seen and valued. But this isn't just about patting someone on the back for every little thing. It's about sincerity. Empty praise doesn't work. It must be authentic and specific. When you tell someone, "I see how much effort you've put into this," or "Your attention to detail has really improved," it has more impact. You're showing them you're not just throwing around compliments, you're paying attention to what truly matters and acknowledging their real progress. One thing that makes this principle so effective is that it encourages the person to keep improving. When they feel proud of their achievements, even the small ones, they're more likely to continue putting in the effort. This fosters a sense of pride and ownership in their work, and as their skills grow, so does their drive to succeed. Think of the people you admire, the ones who consistently strive for excellence. Don't they all have one thing in common? They've been encouraged, recognized, and celebrated for their improvements. And when you do this for others, you're helping them become their best selves. Let me ask you something. How do you feel when you're praised in front of others? You know, when someone acknowledges your efforts publicly in a way that makes you feel proud and appreciated. It's a powerful feeling, isn't it? Praise in front of others has an incredible impact, and here's why. When you praise someone in front of others, you're not just recognizing their actions, you're elevating their sense of self-worth. You're telling the world that this person has value, that their contributions matter, and that they deserve to be seen. Now think about the impact this has. When you acknowledge someone publicly, they don't just feel good in that moment. They feel a sense of pride that sticks with them. It's like planting a seed of confidence that will continue to grow. This kind of praise makes people feel important, and when people feel important, they want to do more. They're more likely to put in extra effort, go the extra mile, and continue to strive for excellence. And you've created a situation where everyone wins. There's an old saying, people like to feel important, and it's true. But here's the twist. It's not just about making people feel good. It's about recognizing and amplifying their potential. When you praise someone in front of others, you're giving them a reputation to live up to. You're telling them, "I believe in you, and I want everyone else to see the great things you're capable of." And what does that do? It encourages them to keep performing at that high level, because now their pride is on the line. Here's an example. Think about a time when someone recognized your achievements publicly. Maybe it was in a meeting, or at a gathering, or even just in casual conversation. How did you feel? Chances are, it lifted your spirits and motivated you to keep doing your best. The same goes for everyone else. Praise, when given in the right way, creates a ripple effect. It boosts the individual's confidence, and it also sets an example for others to follow. People start to feel that if they too do great work, they'll be seen and celebrated. And remember, it's not just about praising the big accomplishments. Public recognition can be just as effective for smaller wins too. Every time you highlight someone's improvement in front of others, you're helping them build their reputation and reinforcing their drive to continue growing. It's a simple yet powerful tool that transforms the way people see themselves and the way they approach their work. So, my friend, if you want to influence others, if you want to build strong, lasting relationships, remember this: praise and appreciation are your most powerful tools. By focusing on the positive, encouraging growth, and making others feel important, you'll unlock their full potential.